So today we have to cover chapter number 3, changing hedging strategies using futures. So the aims what we have over here is differentiate between short hedge and long hedge and identify appropriate uses. So we already know like when we should go in for a long future. Okay, so think futures as something which will be able to protect you. So you want to get into a long when you want to purchase something in the future. So if you want to purchase the asset, okay, then you want to go long because you want to lock in your price. So you do not want to suffer from the increase in the cost later. So that's why you will get into a long there. Okay, now what we say is like a hedger does not necessarily need to own the asset at the start. So that's why he wants to go long. Okay, so an example here is like, look, Coca-Cola wants to purchase sugar in the future, but it is concerned that the sugar price might increase. So it want to lock the prevalent current rate. So let's say the sugar price currently is 30 rupees per kg. So Coca-Cola would want to go long in the future. Okay, even though like let's say it wants to consume this sugar after 6 months. So after 6 months it want to consume, but it can go long today. Okay, so after 6 months, whatever is the price of the future, even if it's 40, it is essentially buying at 30 rupees per kg. So that is the benefit of going long in the future in today's date. Okay, now when should a person go into a short future hedge? Okay, so we should go into short future hedge when we already own the asset. Okay, so think about let's say Coal India. So Coal India already has lots of coal. It want to hedge against the decrease in the coal price. So what it will do is it will short the future. Okay, so in this case hedger owns the asset. Okay, so an example is sugar mill is concerned that the price may go down and want to lock in the price. So here the sugar mill will sell the futures at 30 rupees per kg, and it's concerned that the price will decrease in the future. So that's why they are doing that. Okay, now they have asked the next aim is what is the argument for and against hedging. Okay, and what is the potential impact of hedging on firm's profitability. Okay, so my question to you guys is, okay, my question to you guys is like, should we do hedging always? Always we should do hedging or no? So it depends, like because what happens is sometimes hedging will mean that you will be losing a lot of money because you will not be able to gain the advantage. Okay, so you might lose. So or you might not be able to gain that profit. So what we say is that describe the argument for and against the hedging and the potential impact of. So the argument in favor of hedging is, okay, so think about companies like which are Coca-Cola, like that. So why they should hedge? Okay, so what we say is like their main business is like not financial, so they should try to hedge their financial risk. So the financial company should focus on the main business and take step to minimize the risk, okay, arising from fluctuation in interest rate, exchange rate, commodity prices, and other market risks. Okay, so this is what, so they should focus on their business and ensure that there is no impact of these things on their operations. Okay, now there are people which are who say is like, okay, these things fluctuate, but what happens is, okay, let's say if the Coca-Cola thought that sugar price will increase and it hedged at 30 rupees per kg. What if the sugar price decreased? Okay, so effectively it is purchasing sugar at a very high price. So that may not go well with the shareholders. Okay, because shareholders will not try to understand why this hedging was done in the first place. Okay, so there are arguments against hedging wherein they say that, okay, shareholders are well diversified. Okay, so think about a shareholder, he may be having shares of Coca-Cola, he may be having share of Dhampur company, which is a manufacturer of sugar. So he is like well diversified. Okay, so we are saying that shareholders are well diversified, and also there are like a presence of futures are there, so they can take their own hedging decisions. Okay, so what we say is that since the investors, okay, can take the risk, can minimize the risk themselves, why the company need to hedge it. So first of all, like let's say think about it, I am entering I am buying coal, I am buying Coal India stock because I am thinking that stock coal price may increase in the future, okay, and the company will gain benefit. Okay, but if the company has hedged itself against decrease in the coal prices, it essentially means that the upside is also stopped. So me as an investor, there is no value add that this company is bringing. Okay, so what we say is I am not able to get the benefit of the investment taking that risk in Coal India, because the company has insulated itself from the increase in the coal prices. So that means it is worthless for me to invest in that company. So what we say is investors have taken in the position knowing the risk, then they are capable to hedge themselves. So this we covered in the foundation topic. Okay, then next we are saying that when the competitors are not hedging, okay, when we are saying that if the competitors are not hedging, then it may increase the risk if you are hedging. So a very beautiful example is given in Hull about it. Okay, so the example that they have given is this. Think about industry. Gold producers are there. Okay, so there are gold producers, and what happens is this, like in this industry, the pricing is done, or gold producer, or let's say we can take gold jewelers. I think I took this example in foundation also. Okay, so pricing is based on the input price, which is gold. Okay, now the industry says that we will most of the players in the industry are not hedgers. Okay, so they do not hedge. Why? Because what they say is the output, that is the gold jewelry price, is pegged on the input price. So any increase in the gold price, they can pass it on to their customer. So it is not useful for them to hedge. Okay, now think about a company. So out of this industry, there is a company A which thinks that it will hedge itself. Okay, so not all the players are not hedging. So industry, it is not hedging. Only one player is hedging, that is company A. Okay, now what will happen? Okay, so company A will go long on future or short on gold future. So if company A hedges, should it go long or should it go short? Okay, so it is hedging against the increase in the gold prices. Okay, so it should go long in the future. Think about it, it's a jeweler, right? A jeweler's input is gold. Okay, now when you are thinking that gold price will increase, you would want to purchase the gold. Okay, you want to purchase the gold at a fixed price. Okay, that you can only do through going long in the futures. Okay, so you have purchased at fixed price, you have gone long into the gold future. Okay, now think about if the gold price increase. Okay, let's say gold price from $1,600 it became $2,000. Okay, you have hedged at a 1,600 price. Okay, what happens is all the jewelers, let's say they are taking a 20% making charge. So the 20% is making charge, and then they are selling. Okay, so 2,000 is the gold price, they are taking 20% making charge, and then they are selling the gold jewelry at 2,400. So everybody is selling at 2,400. Even A will sell at 2,400. So what will happen if A is also selling at 2,400? What is the purchase price of A? What can be said as a purchase price of A? 1,600. So competitors are making 20%. This guy is making 800 per gram. So he is making 33%, or sorry, 50% he is making, right? His margin is 50%. So when the gold price is increasing, all competitors, there is no increase in the value, but this guy's A has increased in profit, right? When the gold price increase. Now think about the scenario where the gold price has decreased from 1,600, the gold price became, let's say, 1,200. Okay. What will happen is everybody is charging 20% margin on that, so it will be, so everybody is selling at 1,440. Okay, so since the industry is very competitive, very fierce, this gentleman, this company A may not charge very high, so it will also be forced to sell at 1,440. Okay, its purchase price of the gold is 1,600, it is selling at 1,440, so it is suffering a loss of 10%, whereas others are making money of 20% because they are selling at a increase rate of 20%. This guy is losing money. So when the gold price decreases, The others, they do not lose or they do not make money also, so they are making the 20%. They are not making any extra over here. They are not making extra, not losing anything. But this our company A, it is losing, right? So this is competition. This is our company A, and this is the gold price. Okay, so if gold price increases, company A profit increases, but if gold price decreases, company A's profit decrease. So what happens is when industry is not hedging, okay, industry is constant, all the players are constant, but this company's fortune will fluctuate with the gold prices. So it may happen that it's not necessary that you should hedge. Okay, think about your competitor, think about your cost structure. If that allows you to, okay, then you should definitely. Otherwise, like you may not want to. Okay, so this is like what the scenario I was talking about from the hull. Okay, so change in the gold price, effect on the price, effect on the profit of non-hedged company, effect on the profit of hedged company. So this is how this will get impacted. Now the third thing what they are saying is, okay, so overall the loss on hedge and the gain on underlying compensate. Okay, but for many shareholders it does not make sense for like how they are losing. So in the hull they have given a very good example wherein they are saying that a company's treasurer has hedged the oil price, and the company's CEO is asking why in this hedging they have lost $10 million. Okay, so for some it may not make sense, but if the same would have happened and the oil price would have increased, this treasurer would have been given bonus. Because of him the company would have made some money. Okay, so you have both the sides. Okay, but there is still argument in favor of hedging, because what we are saying is shareholders are well diversified. But what happens is typically the company's manager, they know about the company. As a shareholder we are only knowing a little bit. Okay, so for a company, since they are knowing about the company's management, they know a lot about the company, so it makes sense for them to hedge. Okay, so they should, like many times, like it makes sense for them to hedge rather than relying on the shareholders. Okay, now define and compute the basis. Okay, now it will work fine. So what we have is like compute the basis. Okay, we have seen yesterday last class also, with hedging you will not be able to hedge it completely because of the basis. Okay, so the asset prices whose hedge may not be exactly as the same as the available futures price. The hedger may be uncertain on the debt where he want to buy or sell the asset. The hedge may require the futures contract to close before the delivery of the actual asset. So I think I took an example of Infosys. Okay, where Infosys, let's say, is taking some USD 1 million. Okay, so 1 million US dollar is its receivable, but they are receiving, let's say, on 23rd of March. Okay, and the futures that they are entering is 30th of March. Okay, so they have, when they hedged, the spot price was 50 and the future price was 49. Okay, so Infosys should go, what I will say is like it is already, it is getting the dollars. Okay, so Infosys will enter as a seller of dollar. Okay, and Infosys has entered as a seller of dollar, and they have entered to sell dollar at 49 rupee. Okay, now this is what so the basis over here is 1. Okay, now this at future will be equal to spot on 30th of March, but before that on 23rd of March it will not be equal. What will happen is, let's say if the spot becomes 50, sorry, let's say the spot becomes 47. Okay, and future become 45. Okay, this can happen, right? Now what happens is the spot has decreased by 3, but the futures has decreased by 4. Okay, now you have agreed to sell the dollar at 49 rupees. Okay, so but here what is happening is the futures is 45, so you are making more money, so you are making 4 rupee per dollar over here. Okay, extra money you are making. Why? Because the futures has decreased a lot. But take the scenario where futures is only 48. Okay, so Infosys gets $1 million. It sells in the spot market for 47. So they have got 47 million rupee. Okay, so they have lost 3 million rupee. Okay, because 50 was the price, they have lost. So ideally they would want to cover this 3 million rupee from where? From the futures contract, right? But you see, they have sorted the futures on 49. The current price is 48. What is the gain? The gain is merely 1 million. So they lost 3 million, the gain is 1 million. What is the loss due to this hedging? This 2 million. This 2 million loss is attributed due to nothing but your basis, and this is your basis risk. Okay, so this is a problem with the company. So futures hedge is not a complete hedge. Okay, here in this case 46 when it was there, so they got 4, they lost 3, they got 4, so here they were happy, right? But here they are really losing money, because they should be sad over here. Okay, so what we say is, like, whenever you are using futures, make sure that your hedge date and the expiry date of the futures contract matches. So this is what is being recommended. So the issues is may not exactly the same. Okay, uncertain on the date when you want to buy and sell. Okay, now the futures contract can close before the delivery of the actual asset, or can close after the delivery of the actual asset. So that, or it has expiry before, after. Okay, so that is the basis risk. Okay, now what are the various sources of basis risk? So they are asking us the sources of basis risk. What are the various sources, and how basis risk arise when hedging with futures? So we have seen, like, how the basis risk is arising. Okay, but what are the various sources? So we have seen that one of the sources is the delivery month or the timing. So since futures are standardized, okay, you may want to hedge with the standard futures, but it may not exactly match with your date. Okay, the second is the underlying asset. Okay, underlying asset, wherein, like, you want, so there is a slight difference between what you want to hedge and what hedge is available. So many times what you will see is, like, let's say you want to hedge mustard oil. Okay, and mustard oil futures, let's say, are not available. Then you may want to hedge using palm oil or sunflower oil. That can be the case, right? So what you will do is, like, you will try to find out the correlation, etc., and then you will be trying to find out. And in fact, the correlation, everything is historical. It may not be the same. Okay, so whatever you are using as an underlying asset, okay, it may not exactly move the same way as whatever commodity you are trying to hedge. Okay, so, or whatever futures you have used. So palm oil futures may move differently than the mustard oil. Okay, so that will be the problem. Okay, so futures contract that is available, not exactly the same which we want to hedge. For example, this year we have taken an example of Indian crude basket. So remember, there are, like, two type of futures which are available in US. Okay, one is Brent crude, and another, there is a crude on New York Mercantile Exchange, that is NYMEX crude. Okay, so you'll find that there is a difference between the Brent and NYMEX. Brent crude is very superior quality crude. NYMEX is slightly inferior. And if you say take the Indian crude oil basket, okay, Indian crude oil basket is slightly inferior to the NYMEX crude. Okay, as a result, what happens is there is a slight price difference between the NYMEX futures and the Indian crude oil basket. Okay, so this is not exactly oil hedging 1:1, because the oil grades are different. So what happens is, if you are using a contract on NYMEX, or even for that matter, if you are using a contract on MCX, MCX contracts is just a replication of your NYMEX contract, and it is not even based on the Indian crude oil basket. So there's a slight difference. As a result, you are exposed to the basis risk. Okay, because this Indian crude oil basket may move differently than the NYMEX. So typically, historically, they have tried to find out what is the correlation, and then they try to hedge accordingly. Okay. So a basis can strengthen. So what we are saying is, the basis can strengthen or the basis can weaken. So there can be basis weakening or strengthening. When we are saying strengthening of basis, means spot price increases more than the future price. Weakening of the basis, we say future price increases more than the spot price. So in the previous case, if you see, the spot was from 50, it changed to, so we took a situation, sorry, spot it changed from 50 to 47, but the crude oil it changed from 49 to 46, and another case was 49 to 45, and another case was it moved to 48. Okay, so here the basis was 1. Okay, here the basis became 2. Okay, or let's say if you want, yeah, here the basis became 2, here the basis became -1. So here the basis became 2 and here the basis became -1. So spot minus future. So here the basis increased, strengthened, here the basis decreased. Okay, spot price increased, so here. Okay, so what we say is, if the basis, okay, so think about it. Okay, strengthening of the basis, if you are expected, then it's okay. If but it is unexpected, strengthening is favorable for a short hedge and unfavorable for a long hedge. Okay, strengthening of basis. So there we had like entered into a contract, as we were saying that we will sell the dollars. Okay, so we'll sell the dollars. Idea is that we are short on dollars. Okay, we are short on dollars. Okay, if dollar weakens, we will make money. Okay, here the issue is, if the dollar weakens means, like if the this from 50 it becomes lower, then dollar is weakening, because for $1 earlier you are getting 50 rupee, and with $1 you might be getting 47 rupee. So there the dollar is weakening. Okay, so when you are short, dollar weakens, you will make money. Okay, so that is what was happening over here. If the future became 45, from 49 it became 45, so here this has strengthened. Okay, 2. Okay, so you are favorable, it's favoring the short hedge. Okay, unfavorable for long hedge. Okay, weakening of the bias is favorable for long hedge and unfavorable for short hedge. So here the basis became -5. So for the short it was bad. Okay, the company lost. Okay, so I would say that you do not remember this. Don't remember. Try to analyze it with examples. You can analyze. Okay, and try to understand that way. Okay, but is this example clear? Okay, that is, over here 50 was a spot. From 50 the spot became 47. Future was 49. From one case we are taking, future became 45. Okay, so here the basis was 1, here the basis became 2. Okay, so what we say is the basis has strengthened, basis has increased. Okay, from 1 it became 2. When the basis is strengthening, the short hedge will make money, more money. So here we saw that they were making how much? 49 to 45, 4. Here there was a decrease in 3, they were making 4. So Infosys was happy over here. Okay, but when the basis became -2, from when the instead of 45 the future price became 48, here the basis is 47 minus 48. Okay, or it's -1. Okay, 47 minus 48 is -1, but still from 1 it became -1. So the basis became weaker, so the short hedge will make losses. So things are like simple over here. So just like you have to these terminologies you have to follow. Okay, now the next aim asks us to define cross hedging. Cross hedging, we have seen an example, that is mustard oil. Okay, using palm oil we can hedge the mustard oil. Okay, using platinum, or sorry, using gold futures, you may want to hedge your platinum or your diamond. Okay, not exactly perfect, but it is like you are having some of the stuff to hedge yourself. So using, let's say mustard, okay, you want to hedge palm, or using palm you want palm oil future, you want to hedge your mustard spot. Okay, so what we have to do is, like, for hedging this, what is required, what type of analysis is required for us. Okay, how do we identify how much mustard or how much palm oil future should be bought or sold given I want to hedge? Okay, how you will come to know? Okay, so things are pretty simple. If you have, let's say your mustard oil future is available. So mustard future is available. Let's say mustard future is available. One contract is of, let's say, 800 ton. Let's say one contract is of 800 ton, and if you want to hedge, your produce of 8,000 ton, what you will do is you will sell how many contracts? 10 contracts. Okay, because 800 ton is one contract, here you have 8,000 ton, you will sell 10 contracts. Okay, but let's say this mustard oil future is not available. Let's say mustard oil future is not available. What is available is palm oil futures. Okay, palm oil future, each one contract of palm oil future is also 800 ton. Assuming palm oil future, each contract is also 800 ton. Should you short 10 contract of palm oil future? Question is, this mustard is 8,000 ton. Should you sell 10 contract of palm oil future? Okay, right? It should not be on that basis, right? Okay, it should not be on that basis, right? So you should not be contracting. You should not be doing this. Okay. So what exactly you should be trying to identify? What we should do? So we have to understand the correlation among the asset. Okay, so what we typically do is, here your regression will come into picture. So what we will do is, we'll try to regress the futures, okay, of palm oil, and we'll regress the spot of mustard. Okay, so you'll try to regress this. Okay, so you'll try to come up with these points and then try to come up with the best fit line. Okay, so when you are regressing, you are coming up with the best fit line. Okay, so what we say is, okay, so there is a palm oil future. It is trying to move with the spot, okay, of the mustard oil. So you will be trying to get some understanding. So you will be getting what we got was, so you will get y equal to a plus bx kind of thing. Okay, so there b was your correlation coefficient. Okay, so using this, we can try to say that how much future of palm oil will be required. Okay, so here what we are saying is not the spot price, but changes in the spot price. So we are saying that change in the spot price, and here we are saying that change in the future price. So what we are saying is, change in future price is equal to a plus b into change in the spot price. So this is what we are saying. Okay, now we have a concept called as hedge ratio. So hedge ratio will help us in finding out how much contract will be required. Please note that you are not required to derive hedge ratio. Also, you are not required to compute hedge ratio by doing this kind of regression analysis. Okay, even though in Hull they have given a problem, an example related to it, we are not required to. We are required to know the formula of hedge ratio. Okay, or what is called as minimum variance hedge ratio. This is called as minimum variance hedge ratio because if you use that particular formula, it will result in the lowest variance of your hedge. Okay, so what happens is your hedge will perform like this. So okay, so this is the variance of the hedge, okay, with the movement in the spot prices. So we'll try to come with movement in the future prices. We'll try to come up with this point, okay, and it has been derived for us. Okay, the formula is given to us. It is the minimum variance hedge ratio is given as, so is given as rho sigma spot divided by sigma of the future contract. So this rho is between the sigma spot and the future contract. So what we are saying is, the hedge ratio is given as correlation coefficient, standard deviation of the spot, standard deviation of future. Okay, here like I have taken the palm oil and other thing, but you can also do the same thing for the same spot and future, because we know that there is some basis also. So there can be some basis risk also. So if you are taking the same oil, okay, let's say Indian crude oil basket, you are taking the NYMEX crude oil future, okay, you can still apply the same formula. Okay, you can apply this formula to anything. Okay, what you have is, you have one spot price, you have one future price, and you are getting this value from the regression. Okay, so this is what exactly we are doing.